This week's update made possible by Turkey Creek Mercantile and R&H Trucks and Auto. You had dark hair when you came here.
I did.
Yeah.
I was about 6'6", 260 pounds, dark hair, good looks, all that. But, that's all shot to heck. So
Welcome back.
yeah, thank you. Welcome to reality.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, we missed last week. I had some technical difficulties, and
Right.
you were starting a school year, so it was
Wasn't conducive.
pretty crazy. So we
wasn't the
opted
right
out of
week.
opted out of last week, but
Absolutely.
we're back, and some exciting stuff happened.
Right.
Like the governor showed up.
Well, I thought you were talking about starting school.
That too.
But yes, Governor Stitt did come by on Friday and spent about an hour and a half here, and we had a very productive visit with him, and he went away, was very complimentary about the community, the school, the staff, and our students, and the things that we were doing in Hennessey. It was a positive day.
Very, very cool. You have a list of sort of an agenda here. You
Well,
wanna
just some things to
roll
cover.
down that. And
That would be great.
let's go.
So the first thing I want to do is really thank everybody. Parents, you can tell that when I ask y'all to do the practice you did, because we got 4-year-olds wearing masks like professionals. Now, I do love the Anna and Elsa masks and some of that. they look really good. But just want to thank everybody for wearing their masks, practicing social distancing, working hard on washing our hands and keeping hand sanitizer in place. That has just been fantastic, and hopefully we can continue the same level of performance throughout the need. Hopefully the need goes away as quick as possible, but until it does go away, just keep up the good work and don't relax. That's the main thing. Don't go, oh, well, we don't have any COVID here now. Well, the reason we don't have it is because everyone has been so good and so diligent about practicing the 4 big things from the CDC.
What's the overall comfort level? Everyone was going in like, oh my God, this is the
Sure.
end of the world. And is it?
I really think that the comfort level is high right now. I made the comment that it feels very normal and very natural walking down the halls. It's just like everyone is kind of taking it in stride. And the community, I watched so many clips about where people are protesting and throwing fits and just going wild. And our community has been so good. And again, I don't think everyone likes the fact that we're requiring people to wear masks, but it appears to me the attitude is we're not crazy about it, but we know it's what we got to do to keep school open and keep things going. So we're willing to let the school do that, and we're going to support them doing that. So again, I just can't thank people enough for everything that they've done to help us get this year off to a good start. It really was. It's been very, very nice.
Planning paid off.
Planning has seemed to have an effect. One thing I need people to plan to do is to not drop their kiddos off in front of the school in the bus lanes. And if you do drop them off, and this I think is after 8, they're allowed to, because the buses are
when the
gone.
buses clear out. Yeah.
But especially, do not go around buses. Whether the bus is on a road with the stop sign out, and it doesn't matter if you're school staff or you're a parent, whoever it is, please don't get in the bus lines. Please don't cause a traffic issue that could be tragic. And again, we're working through. I know there was some changes in the way the drop-off and the pickup was happening. Again, send me an email if you have a thought or a concern or an idea about it. But as a matter of fact, when we go one way in the afternoon, when the kids are picked up after school, that was a suggestion that was made from the community, and a darn good one. It really sped up.
That's when you close, is it Iowa Street?
Iowa Street, it becomes one way.
Yep.
And again, it cut our time from over 35 minutes to about 10 total. 5 minutes for the 3s or the 4s and 5 minutes for the kindergarten. It goes by really, really quickly. But again, please be careful around the buses. That's a very serious thing.
Well, you got the kids trained. Now we're going to get the parents
Right? Yeah.
trained not to run out in front of.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool.
Yes, our parent training has begun.
Good.
So.
Okay.
So one of the things that I thought we could do today was talk about how we make decisions, because we have had cases of COVID-19 show up in staff and students, and we've been able to really isolate and remove those concerns to a great deal.
To be clear, this is prior to school opening.
We've actually had some staff have actually tested positive just before. I don't think we've had anybody since the school year started, but
Gotcha.
but close enough it would be. I would consider it in the
Sure.
school year. And so there's a couple things. We have a process, and I believe this is what's allowed us to address the situations when they've come up, and deal with them in a very positive way, where there's no spread and there's no panic or people running wild in the streets. And one of the things I thought we could do today was look at some scenarios and talk about how we would react to those.
Okay.
The first thing that people need to know is there's a huge difference between exposure just to the COVID virus and close contact.
Okay.
The CDC has defined close contact as within 6 feet, closer than 6 feet, for 15 minutes solid. So you would have to stand. So at 14 and a half minutes, you and I walk to the side of the building, wait, and come back, and then we finish the show.
Okay.
Well, we can't do that all the time. Yes. Oh, is that?
I was
Were we
practicing.
doing that? I'm
Okay,
sorry.
go ahead.
Well,
Continue.
you're part of the parent practicing process we're in right now. So, so that's really, if you think about it, being close contact with someone for 15 minutes is a long time. And so when we hear that someone has had exposure, has been exposed to someone, that's the threshold for that is you could be in the same building.
Yeah.
You could be just in the same general area, nowhere near that person. And we treat exposure much different than we treat close contact. So let's say we have a student, and so far the situation has not been us having COVID at school and sending it home. We're fighting keeping it out of school coming from home. That's the concern. And we really kind of planned a little bit backwards and should have thought that through to where that's mostly going to originate. And it's typically somebody goes somewhere, goes to another country, or goes to a wedding, a funeral, something where there's a large gathering of people from a lot of different places. And then come to find out when they get home, Cousin Sally had tested positive for the coronavirus. So once they do, then we ask the parent, did you have close contact? Were you within 6 feet for 15 minutes? If they weren't, if they didn't like Aunt Sally or Cousin Sally, whichever it was, they don't like them that much, so they avoided them the whole day, then the risk would be very minimal.
Yeah.
So we would just say, okay, monitor yourself, monitor your student, and keep us advised. If they have any of the CDC guideline symptoms, let us know. And so that's the most typical case. We have had some, though, where there has been close contact. So once that parent has close contact, then we have to go back and say, well, you need to let us know what your situation is. Are you going to go get tested? Are you going to quarantine for the 14 days? And let's say the parent decides they're not going to get tested, so they're just going to quarantine. Well, so we have a student that could be in a situation where we may go ahead and have them be quarantined as well, because we won't know, and we're going to err on the side of caution. So that student, even though they haven't shown symptoms, even though they haven't been tested, they may be asked to quarantine. Typically what happens is that we will have a parent that has been tested, and they will either come back and they'll be tested because they have shown symptoms, or they were, again, exposed at some event, so just as a precaution, they're getting a test. Well, the parent that had symptoms, their students would stay home because they would be quarantined because of the symptoms.
Yep.
The parent that was just doing it as a precaution, those students would go ahead and come to school because there's no sign of the parent having the COVID-19. So everything is individual. There's no blanket application of the process or the policies. And so if a student were to come into school and our thermal imaging cameras detected that they had a fever above the threshold of 100.5, they would see Nurse Shelley or our Kylie Warren, our athletic trainer. They would see them first. They would go through a process of identifying what are the symptoms. And then if it was decided that they were to be going home, the student would go home, and they could then, if they had symptoms, they would be 10 days. The last day, they could not have a fever, or could not be using fever-reducing medicine to not have a fever. Or they could quarantine home for 14 days, or they could go home for 2 days, get a test, and if it was tested negative, then they could come back.
Okay.
So that's kind of the overall process that we use to determine what the reaction is going to be. We want people in school, but anytime there's a symptom or a positive test, we take that very serious, and those students may have to, even though it's at home, nothing at school, it's at home, those students may have to stay at home.
Well, the cool thing about the kids being at school is, you'd mentioned this, we had a conversation about this, that this is like the safest place for them to be because of you're following all the rules. Where at home you kind of oh well, we're okay,
Right.
and Uncle Bob he's okay, and then
Right.
turns out Uncle Bob isn't, and he stays anyway, and
Yep.
so the school environment, because of all of the requirements that you're practicing daily or hourly,
Multiple,
is constant. In fact, the heat sensor equipment that you installed, I didn't realize it until we were talking a little earlier that's all day long.
Yes.
When they come in, they're screened. As they're walking through the hallways, changing classes or going to lunch, they're screened.
Right.
So if something popped up in the middle of the day, that they're going to get triggered,
Right.
and that
Right.
something has changed.
They may come in and be fine. And two things. One, they either got some Tylenol right before they got on the bus, or they were feeling fine, and now they've come to school, it's the middle of the afternoon, they've gone to PE, they're coming back, and all of a sudden they're flagged because they have a fever now. Earlier on they didn't. But yeah, we're monitoring that every day, all day, and the teachers and the staff are looking out for that. That's a focus of what's going on.
Yep.
Once they get in the classrooms, we're focused on learning and teaching. But when they're traveling back and forth, when they come in first thing, and teachers know kids just about as well as parents.
Sure.
They learn what if little Jack's coming in and he's just a little quieter than normal and maybe doesn't have quite the same skip in his step, there's how you're feeling, okay? And then we can send students to the office, and there's a temperature kiosk, so they can just step up in front of that kiosk and it'll tell them what their temperature is, and if it's above the level, they would go again, see the nurse, the process would start.
Good.
And just kind of to follow up with the situations we've addressed, we have not yet once had a follow-up positive case.
Oh.
Everything, we had a positive case, that person would stay at home, was isolated, their kids stayed home and isolated. The other folks who had close contact with them got tested, and we have 0 cases. And I think that's going to be the scenario that we're shooting for, is catch the cases that we're going to have, isolate them, take the precautions we need to take, let people know. And then we had a situation where a student was engaged on Wednesday with band camp and started school then Thursday and Friday, and wasn't feeling well Friday evening. We went ahead and made the call and let people know this is what's going on, because the timing is 2 days. When the CDC or the health department, if it's longer than 2 days, they don't contact trace it. It was just so close to
Right.
2 days, we felt it was important to go ahead and let parents know. We didn't let everybody in the school know because it wasn't necessary to tell everybody.
Just that circle of
Exactly. Who they were exposed to or had close contact, that's the only people we told. Part of that's HIPAA, part of that's FERPA. There's some privacy and things involved in that. So again, we've been able to identify situations and react to them, and again, so much credit goes to our staff. Nurse Shelley and Kylie, and the 4 principals, they just deserve so much credit for being on top of things and making things happen. So
I think the virus has been going on long enough now. Didn't mean to make this a virus show, but the virus has been going on long enough now that they're kind of figuring out how things work. So if you had a case in, say, pre-K, it doesn't mean the entire school campus has to be cleared out.
it doesn't even mean the room has to be cleared.
Sure.
There, it could be half a dozen kids that maybe were at centers together for a length of time. That may be the only ones, and then that's where the technology comes into play, where we got the pragmatic room and we've got the Polycom and the new line equipment. The teacher can still deliver lessons to those kiddos and still deliver instruction to those kiddos while they're quarantined and outside of the school. So again, all that's kind of played together. There is one other thing that we have been realizing that we have to address maybe more than others, is when you travel to a high-risk country. And right now, Mexico is listed as a high-risk country at the CDC website. So if you're traveling back and forth to see family or to do business or whatever, there is a requirement for a 14-day quarantine.
And some states are even doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know why anyone would go to New York anyway.
Yeah, I know.
But if you wanted to, you couldn't now because they're not accepting Oklahomans.
Yep.
Again, can understand that, but that is what it is. And we also have changed our process a little bit to where Shelley Musney, the school nurse, is the primary contact first. We used to split it between Kylie, the athletic trainer, and Shelley, the nurse. But what we're finding was usually somebody had a first grader that maybe showed symptoms. Well, there's probably somebody in 6th or up as well. So having Shelley be the district-wide contact allows us
a single contact.
Yes,
yeah.
It allows that she will know the kids and the family so much better and can go, oh well, we need to go get so and so as well because they've been exposed at the same level. So we have changed our processes. It's been a continual adjust, evaluate, see how it works, adjust, evaluate. So we're doing that all the time. Again, like with the bus routes, with different things, we're always in a flux. I really would encourage people to continue to contact me via email for whatever the reason is, whatever the concern is, and let us work through it.
Communicate.
Yep.
Communicate. If any of this is difficult or working on your mind or whatever, communicate.
Yep.
It's been a big thing.
I would like to know what OSSAA talked about today. Can you
know,
help me with that?
I have the press release.
Fantastic.
Okay, I think as of the time we're recording this, about an hour ago, I got the actual press release from the OSSAA that says the overwhelming feeling was to continue and deal with things as they come along from a local standpoint. That's a quote from Mr. Simpson. I'm assuming he's on the board of directors or something. And
Not Homer.
probably not.
Okay.
Probably not.
I'm not. I was excited about it till you
Till I
said
said
it was
board
Homer.
of directors. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you Homer Simpson.
So what's happening is it looks like OSSAA is allowing fall sports to happen as they would normally happen, and they're leaving decisions up to the local
Right.
school system. So if you feel good about it
Right.
and the school where we're playing is okay with it, then
Yep.
proceed.
Away we go.
And
First volleyball game is next week, and one of the precautions we're taking, we're gonna have the bleachers all the way out, but you cannot enter the gym from the floor level. You have to go to the
come down
upper
from the
level
top. Yep.
and come down, and it's easy. We've got an elevator and 2 stairways,
Mm-hmm.
so it's easy to access. But then they have to come down from the top, and there will be a limit to how far down they can go.
Mm-hmm.
The home side and the EEC is the east. West
oh, that's
side
right.
is
It's
visitor,
different. If you haven't been in the new
Yeah.
event center,
which they haven't.
they haven't.
For most
this
part.
is like the first event,
Yes, it
and
is.
it's volleyball.
Unless you were graduating.
Come on down.
Yeah.
The home side is on a different side now. The home side is on the east side of,
Right.
of the arena, not the west.
Yes.
Yep.
And
And that's where all the comfortable chairs are, by the
The
way.
biggest share of them are, exactly. That's why we took care of our homies. And so some of the things we're doing is, one, restricting access to the floor so people won't just be walking by the players as they come in and out.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have the visitors stay on the visitor side. So we'll put their chairs on that side.
Oh, you're not
And-
going to line them all up
No,
together.
we're
Okay.
going to separate them. Again, there'll be some challenges as we work through how subbing players in and out and some stuff like that. We'll have to work through those. And then not changing sides. They'll just stay on their same side of the net.
Oh, you're not
Just-
going to rotate.
Right.
Oh.
We're gonna leave it. Now, that was what we started. When the Coach Hicks and the coaches have this conversation, this might change a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But the basic premise is everyone stays on their own side. We shouldn't have any trouble, and we're going to have a volleyball game.
Very cool.
Concession
Very cool.
stand will be open. Bathrooms will be open. We have some really cool. So no, there's no confusion. The guy dunking the basketball is the men's room. The
Oh.
lady hitting the volleyball is the ladies' room.
What Dr. Woods is talking about, there's new signage for the men's and ladies' room
Right.
in the Eagle Event Center, and it doesn't say men's or women. It's a picture of a basketball player and a volleyball player. And so you said, though, you were originally going to put men's.
Yeah,
men's
we'll
and-
probably put up little signs that do say men's
It
and
would be
women's. just
embarrassing.
to-
If you
so-
go into the restroom and there's 28 toilets, you're in the wrong
in the
one.
women's.
That's
Well,
the
no,
women's
you're not
room.
in the wrong
Well, it
one if you're
depends.
the women.
Yeah, if you're the
If you're a
women,
woman.
you're good. If
Yeah.
you're a man and you go in and you see all those toilets, you're in the wrong place.
Right, you went one door too much.
Yes, the men's room is the first one you come to.
Yes. Basketball, boys. Volleyball, girls.
Sure. Okay.
That's one way to.
There was something else I was
do
going
that.
to tell you, and I can't remember. Oh, I don't know if it's Friday or Saturday. Is the blue and white scrimmage?
Is that already this Friday?
I think it is.
Wow, that means that's the beat the Eagles
Yes,
same time.
It's the big.
Wow, that's hard to believe.
I'm
That's
probably
this
saying
weekend.
this wrong, and I don't have my phone to check, but I believe it's I'll put it here, whatever it is. It's either Friday or Saturday is Meet the Eagles, where all of the sports teams will be there, photo opportunities. They'll introduce everybody. There's starting at 5:30, there is a huge food event with food trucks and bouncy houses, and they're going...
No bouncy houses.
Oh, no bouncy houses.
They call them inflatables, and I think bouncy house is sometimes equated with inflatables, but they're not. Due to, again, following all the CDC guidelines.
I heard that, yes.
We would not be able to have a bouncy house. What they have is a inflated
an
obstacle course
yep.
and an inflated basketball hoop shoot type thing.
With all of this stuff being wiped down and,
and
hand sanitizer and masks and all that kind of stuff.
6 feet in the lines and things like that. Again, and during the meet. Now, again, before and after, are we going to go around trying to keep families spread out? Probably not. But during the event, the fans and patrons would set up in the stands. Mm-hmm. And the kiddos will be on the field. So there will be a separation in there. Then again, we'll play the game. And everyone will get in the same car and drive home.
Yep.
But we're doing our part.
And then there's the blue and white scrimmage also after the Meet the Eagles.
I think it's especially when the pandemic lessens, I think that's going to be a real neat event when that gets to be back to where we can have everybody together and really take advantage of the food trucks and the homemade ice cream and all of that sort of thing.
And this is the first time that I can remember that it's all happening in one place, because it used to, part of it was at the park and then they'd move over, and so now it's all at the football field.
Right. Well, and I don't know if their pool will be open during that time or not. I know they're doing weekends.
I'm not sure.
I'm just what a neater place.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fantastic area over there for a sports complex.
Yep.
It just really is. Again,
very cool.
Another real neat collaboration between community and school.
Yes.
So,
all right, that's all I have. Are you good?
I'm done.
Okay, so we got week 1 done, and one and done, and
I guess you could call it, because it's Wednesday.
Yeah.
So we started Thursday.
Almost have a full weekend.
Yeah.
So good. All right,
Fantastic.
that's it. We'll see everybody next week. And remember, communicate. Send Dr. Woods questions. If you have anything for me, send me a question.
And you're going to put my email?
Email down here. And all of the contact information, I'll just keep putting it in the description of this video because of counselors and everything. All right.
Very nice. Thank you, Jack.
Thanks. This week's update made possible by Turkey Creek Mercantile and R&H Trucks and Auto.